Part 5, to stay alive. That's right, Jack. Japan Pimp coming to you live from Nagoya, Japan. This is part 5 of a 7-part series. We're talking about things that, discourage players, make them want to quit Evony Age 2. Again, for the 100th time, we're not attacking Evony. We're just offering some constructive feedback, trying to point out things that discourage players, make them want to quit. And hopefully these things can be addressed. Now, part 5, we're going to talk about historic cities. Now, Evony is a war game, okay? War is about territory, fighting over territory, okay? And there's these special fortresses, so to speak, on every server, and they're limited in number. There's only so many of them, I don't know, whatever, I don't know. Anyway, there's a limited number of fortresses on each server, and these fortresses are known as historic cities. Now, these historic cities or fortresses allow a player or a team to control a large territory. Speaking of territory, let's start a music video. I don't know what that has to do with territory, but I'm just saying. Gotta make sure the volume's right. Come on, hurry up. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, these fortresses or historic cities help a player or team control a large territory. Now, since this is the case in Evony Age 2, these historic cities are highly prized. Everyone clamors for them. Originally, they're owned by no one. They're owned by the computer. So when the server first opens, the big spenders basically jump on these historic cities and capture them from the computer, which is relatively easy. All you have to do is build up a certain number of troops, and you can capture it from the computer. Now, the problem, the thing that discourages players in Evony Age 2 is that once a historic city has been captured by an enemy or rival, that enemy uses the historic city to help attack or put the opponents at a disadvantage. And that being the case, the opponents are the rivals to these historic city owners. They want to attack the historic cities and take them away from the rivals. Problem is, it doesn't work like that. Once a player or team captures a historic city from the computer, which is relatively easy, they basically keep it indefinitely. And really, if someone is determined to keep the historic city, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how many people try to take it from the player, it's going to be impossible to take it from the player because there's so many ways the player can defend that historic city and keep it under their control. There's basically no point in attacking it or trying to take it from them. And that's extremely discouraging for a lot of players. So basically, the players that did not capture it from the computer are suddenly at a disadvantage in the game because these historic cities have been captured by rivals. So they're suddenly at a disadvantage of the game and there's nothing they can do about it. So that needs to change. Historic cities are a key component in Evony Age 2 strategy. They're a key component in conquering territories and fighting over alliance battles and alliance wars. they are the focal point of all those things, and there's so many things that players are doing to keep the historic cities in their control once they capture them from the computer, that it basically renders all efforts from rivals useless when they try to. And some of these things they do to keep historic cities under their control once they capture them from the computer include, account sharing and spending tons and tons of money. So, in my opinion, hey, spending money on the game, someone should have an advantage, okay? But spending money on the game, like thousands of dollars, should not make a player invincible. It should give them an edge, most definitely, but it should not make them invincible. And, when other players are trying to go against someone who's basically invincible, what's the point? They just throw their hands up in the air and kind of give up and move on. So the way historic cities are structured today, the way that they work, the defense of historic cities is way too easy, um, and account sharing. They can keep the historic city defended 24/7 by sharing the account, which is breaking the game rules, but it happens a lot, especially for the more important historic cities. I mean, what team wants the historic city to fall into an enemy's hands? No team does. So they do whatever they can to prevent it from falling into enemy's hands. And that means account sharing. That means bending the rules, breaking the rules, exploiting things, whatever they can do. So that's the reality of the game. And we hope Evony looks into that and, changes things a little bit for historic cities so they're um, more difficult to defend, and so that rivals actually stand a chance, a reasonable chance, of taking them from other rivals, and then battles can happen over territory in historic cities, and they can change hands, and this team has it one week, and then this other team has it the other week, and then this other team has it the other week, and when that happens, Evony makes money because when battles happen and when rivalries happen and when wars happen, Evony makes cash because players spend money on stratagems and speed ups and all kinds of other stuff related to the battles. So, if we make historic cities, uh, um, if we change them so that they trade hands a lot more between rivals, so they're not as easy to defend, and so that account sharing does not offer advantage in defending them, things are going to change a lot in Ebony Age 2, and players are going to have a renewed interest in the game because suddenly, hey, you know what I can do? I can get a couple of buddies together and we can go take that historic city from rival A, um, and not worry about rival A account sharing or spending $2,000 to keep it in their possession. So if things change surrounding historic cities so they do change hands between rivals a lot more often, um, it's going to make the game a lot more exciting. Like any other sport, like any other competitive game, one team shoots at scores, the other team shoots at scores. It's back and forth, and that's not happening today. So we'll move on to video number 6. We'll talk about the kings and queens, why that's an issue and why that's discouraging in Ebony Age 2. This is Japan Pimp signing out. Stay tuned for video 6.